So Lisa, welcome to Her Pursuit in our new home. You're back on the show.
So
and
excited.
I say that with love because you've been with us for, God, feels like since the beginning. You're OG.
I'm so happy to be here. And this set looks absolutely amazing. So
I'm extra excited because you're one of the few that came by way of Nicole, not by way of me. But when she does, she brings in the ringers. But I really do remember the conversation. Like I remember because we were still figuring out what the future of the Daily Drip looked like. And there was this piece that we knew we needed to figure out. And Nicole's like, I'm telling you, I have found like the secret weapon. And no, like
I think I used that word too.
She was like fangirling before we even met. And it's been so incredible because both professionally, the way you've contributed, but even personally, like everything I've learned about communication in terms of like how to communicate better with my family members has come from you.
I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say, because what reminds me is that obviously Nicole and I knew each other, and Nicole's like, listen, you just got to meet Romi. And it would have been at the Motherhood Village Summit. And you and I were like, let's go for a walk on the beach. And you're like, is that kind of a cool thing for you? And I was like, that's my jam. And we didn't talk about anything other than life.
Yeah.
And we knew then that we're like,
oh, sisters.
We're folded.
Oh, I'm just
my floating angel. My floating angel.
Why don't you create context a little bit for the audience on what you do?
So I run a consulting firm that goes into mid to large size enterprises that focuses on change. And what I mean by change and how we define change is any type of merger, acquisition, and even in this space of AI adoption, we help figure out how do you create the new normal for at least the next year to 2 years, because things are going to continue to evolve.
Oh, I can't think of like a better business to be in than managing change, because it feels like change is happening faster than we can all keep up with, whether you're an enterprise or not.
Correct.
That just seems to be like life in 2026 and beyond, right? So I love that. And you know, you mentioned that we had known each other before, and it's interesting. I'm going to share some fun facts. So there was a time when I was working in corporate and I came across Lisa's Instagram page, which was all about helping people go online and build your Instagram presence, your digital presence. And I was like, yeah, I know marketing and sales and I know how to do this, but like I'm getting stuck translating it. And so I connected with her. Lo and behold, we found out we both grew up in Boca. We had been like circling each other for a long time. But so, you know, when we were growing the Daily Drip and we knew that we needed someone to help us help these people not just write thought leadership pieces and articles, but how to build their digital presence and brand, you were kind of integral in that, because I saw you were doing such a good job and kind of showing me what the standard looks like of demonstrating your expertise, because your whole account was all about how should you be talking to people, how to think about who you're talking to, you know, how to communicate certain messages in different ways, photos, videos, through words, different engagement strategies. And I was like, she's our girl. and I brought you over, and now to see. And that was your side hustle, right?
That was my side hustle when you and I met. Yep.
Yeah, because you were in corporate. What was your role?
I was the HR director for healthcare at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So it's funny because then we brought you in as a community partner to help with our education programming for our members. And, you know, now you're living a totally different life. You've gone off on your own. You're doing all kinds of change management consulting. And so I think that this is the question I want to kick your episode off with is, as a content creator, how would you describe yourself? Like, what level would you say you are?
Ooh.
And why?
Yeah, I would go with intermediate. I would at one point think advanced, and I think I would have said advanced because I had a team behind me. There was all these cool things that were happening of I had this thought, they were then able to craft it in a certain way. But I would now jump it back to intermediate, because we actually, the three of us met. And when you were grounding me and feeling confident that, you know what, with everything happening so fast at a rapid pace of change, people need to hear my voice. It can't be curated by my team pushing it out. I realized, oh man, if I put them aside, what does that new version look like of me actually fully showing up on social? And so I would say intermediate, because I'm still now relearning a couple of things. Like, what's my flow? What's the way that I want to show up? And how do I still be vulnerable? Because one thing I want to throw out there is I'm B2B. So sometimes there's a different lens of what does that CEO need to see on LinkedIn versus Instagram. And I'm still trying to figure that out.
I have to like pause for a moment and comment on that because we ask every guest this question. And I would venture to say that in my opinion, as far as the Daily Drip goes, you'd definitely be in the top 3 for sure of content creators. And what's been really interesting is we have not had one person yet say expert. And I've come up with my own thinking around it. And I think it's because of the type of leaders that you all are. You know, there's still something to learn. And I feel like you all hesitate to say expert because there's still, you're leaving yourself enough room that I have a little bit more to learn to get there. And I don't know if I'm like presuming, but that's what it sounds like. Cause I'm like, you're kind of expert to me when I look at how you show up, even if you're changing the style.
Yeah, I would say yes. And because one of the things that I've learned recently from the Daily Drip community is I used to be the person that would plan my content a quarter out in advance. And what we talked about is we can't be in that space anymore because content is changing and things are changing so rapidly that I'm really struggling with how do I be vulnerable and real in the moment that when a headline hits that Amazon just let go thousands and thousands of people, what is it that I want to say? Because everything in me wants to say a few choice words. But how do you say that in a way that doesn't piss off the person that I'm trying to convert into a client?
Right.
But I also want to keep it real. So I'm saying intermediate because what is that fine line that I don't lose, that I want to like shake them and say, what are you doing versus
It's like the drunk text. You write it and you hold on to it and you sleep on it. And then the next morning you're like, okay,
clean it up a little bit.
Let me take out the expletives
profanity.
maybe.
Yeah.
If you're me, you're leaving them in, but anyone else. And like, kind of like, because I think what we talk about a lot in terms of thought leadership and showing up is you really have to be bold. Like if you're really like, you really have to push the envelope. You really have to kind of go out there and make some crazy, not crazy, but solid statements and take a position. But when you're as a business owner, you're navigating that line of like not alienating people necessarily, but you want to be clear about what you think.
1,000%.
I think it's funny because I've been also surprised, but I think I understand the answer in a different way. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think things are changing so much that the more advanced creators in the Daily Drip feel kind of like the ground has been shifting beneath them and what used to work doesn't really work the same way. And you're having to relearn. I think relearn is the perfect word. And I think that's like the word of our generation now. And it is the future. Like everything needs to be relearned. You have to be willing to be a beginner again. You have to be in a constant state of learning in order to keep up and stay relevant. Right. And I think I would still put you guys in the advanced category.
Okay.
Because I think you are able to recognize it's time to relearn.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And I think you know what you need to be learning. Whereas I feel for the new content creators because there was a time, and you know it, you were helping people with it. There was a time 8 or 9, 10 years ago where it was all about just getting online, create an account and start posting and be consistent. And that was enough. And now we're in an era where it's like, do I need to have a podcast? Should I be throwing events? Should I be on Substack? Like Instagram or TikTok I mean, it gets overwhelming. So much more complex.
Yep.
And for the new person coming in, I feel for them jumping in at that level and at that world versus you who kind of have been hanging around in this space for a long time. And so you can even identify the shifts.
Yep.
And then say, all right, I know that I need to focus on these things. So you had this moment recently on LinkedIn that I think was defining for you and me in really solidifying the reality of the situation that the game has changed.
Yep.
So walk us through that scenario.
One of the things when we think about relearn that both of you were helping me with is that it's okay to have some type of structure. So as an example, if I was going to post a newsletter, how do I promote the newsletter and I can be intentional with it? The one thing you challenged me on was, Lisa, when there's a headline that pops that is in your lane that you can be the expert and speak to, how do you take your stance? And when Amazon dropped an article, or when someone dropped an article about Amazon saying that Amazon let all these people go, everything in me was boiling. And it was this moment that I said, I need to take a stance. I need to say something. And I don't need to be mean about it or like show rage, but just from a place of, I want others to know, leaders who are having these conversations and letting people go, to the person that had to receive the information, let's call it out. And I posted it, and I'm not going to lie, it was one of those feelings of I never was that bold with my content in this new way. And I texted you both and I said, oh my gosh, the comments are blowing up. Right now it's at 87,000 impressions. I have over 10 new followers, and I share that because my goal is inbound. My goal is inbound connections with prospects.
And I think if you're in the personal branding business, that is always what the goal is.
I mean, that really is, at least I think that's really why we do the work that we do.
Right.
It's so you're not out there doing what I used to have to do.
But here's what's wild. In the last 3 years, I can honestly say we were not either tracking that because it wasn't happening. So to let my team go and to now really own my own social media and that be the post of, oh, I had a say on this and look what the response was the game changer.
But let's even bring it back a step further to that, because I want to bring it back to like 2 months ago.
Oh, you're talking about that.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the moment that you and I were both like, oh,
okay. So
that's the one that's the story I want you to tell everybody.
So when I left corporate, I decided that if I was going to really go all in on owning my own business, I would need a social media team. So I had a social media team working with me from a place of, they would look at my blogs, they would look at all the key things, and they were creating my content. So in reality, it was them that was showing up for me. And over time, I was debating, like, does it really make sense in this new space that they continue owning it? And I didn't know. But one day I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to create my own post today. Like, let me just create my own content and just see where it goes. Because I had a feeling about something.
What was the post?
The post was just around transitions. It was around, am I thinking of the same post?
Yeah, it was the Reddit, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
But I forget really what it was. It was something you saw on Reddit? Like, what?
It was
create the context, because I even don't remember exactly.
So what we were noticing in our space is that when layoffs happen, people go to Reddit. The employees go to Reddit and they really start to they start to share how they really feel. So they're sharing all the horror stories.
On Reddit?
Yeah.
So that's the one.
That's for us where we go. I think back in the day it would be Glassdoor, right?
Right.
But Reddit is where people are going and they're like, you want to know what really happened? I was this position and stuff, so-and-so things happened. I got it in a text, or all of my access got immediately let go.
I had no idea.
So what I do now is I start scrolling Reddit to see what posts are happening. And I literally grabbed a screen grab and I threw it up on social. And I said something on the lines of, look what's happening. Like, you think you're doing a great job. The headlines, like you're letting go of these jobs because of A, B, and C, but here's what your team's saying. And it blew up because everyone was basically like, yeah, where's the headline of what are you doing to take care of the individuals that just got let go? And it went viral. And it was a post I created versus my team.
And so here is how I recognize this was a moment, because I try to be very conscientious about following all of our Daily Drip members and thought leaders. And it's a way that I can learn more about you to try to be better and more helpful and a better resource to you.
Yep.
It's also a way I learn about what the hell is going on and what's happening in all these industries and all of these things. And I saw that post and I made a comment. And I was doing my regular daily routine on LinkedIn. And I remember it was not even 24 hours later. I think it was at night. I was putting the baby to bed and he was sleeping and I was just like scrolling. I didn't want to move him yet. and I saw my notification. I had almost 15,000 impressions on my comment. And I was like, I don't think I've had 15,000 impressions lately on a post. What was this comment? And I clicked it and I was like, holy shit. Then I started looking at all the comments you were getting. I saw all the engagement was going up. And so I screenshot my notification to send to you because I was like, I can't imagine what is this post must be smoking. It must be on fire. And you sent me the screenshot with something like 500,000 impressions. And I think for both of us as two people who are very avid content creators and are used to looking at metrics and, understanding like performance of different types of content, that was a signal to both of us, I think, for different reasons. For me, I keenly became aware of the power of commenting and how that was shifting, I had already been paying attention to it. LinkedIn started showing you your impressions on comments. Like there were already some shifts and like signs
where it was headed. Yeah.
And then I saw that and I immediately looked at my profile views and my connection requests. And I too had about a dozen. And I knew that they came from that.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So right away, what was clear to me was the critical importance on timing and relevancy in your content.
1000%.
And so what I would ask you is, what did your systems and process and team look like before this defining moment? And what is it starting to look like now after? What changes have you made?
So then I truly had a team that was operating from a place of, we're going to post your content twice a week on LinkedIn. So they were using my blogs. They were using any previous information I had, emails that were well written, and they were using that to repurpose it on LinkedIn.
Was that a in-house team? Did you hire a vendor?
We hired a vendor. That
Okay.
was, sorry, thank you for that clarification. So we hired a vendor. So that was their expertise. They were only supporting us in that way. They were handling the graphics. They were doing hashtags. They were doing all these fancy things. But we were unable to measure success and what that looks like. So what we shifted into is that instead of planning out and we were also planning out content either a month to 60 days out.
Right. I know the quarterly batch is so dead. If anyone's listening, Lisa,
It's dead.
I mean,
It's dead.
It's so dead. And
Good, because I didn't even start it. So I'm so happy. I love when I'm
you're
ahead,
you're ahead,
and I didn't
you're
even.
ahead.
you're ahead of the curve.
I didn't even
Skip
plan it.
Yeah. I used to
my
do that
God.
with my kids. I'm like, we're going to skip this fad. We're not going to collect all this crap. No one's going to
Yeah,
care about it.
yeah.
And I missed it. It's
Oh
awesome.
my
Yeah.
God, Romi, I'm dying. 'cause
Romi for the
it's-
win.
There you
it's
go.
True. But it is dead. It's actually a killer. It holds your brand back because it keeps your content very stale.
I would agree, because even when I look back on some of my content, I'm like, no wonder why no one was engaging with it. I was like, what was really my point in saying something that was 30 days old when everything is coming at us so fast?
Yeah.
So now that that team is no longer with us, we're in good relationship. It was more of like, hey, I now need to own my own content. And what do I mean by own my own content? It's one thing if I'm going to promote a virtual forum that we host every month. That's one thing. Like, how do I get people aware of it? Yes, that can be structured, etc. But now my goal is we have Google. I have Google alerts set up so that when there's any type of transition or change happening in my sector, I'm getting that alert so that way I can respond real time in how I feel about it. And that way it feels more natural. So I'm not really worried about if I post it 2 times a week. I'm not worried about what hashtags I should be using. It's more of like, here's my thought. I'm putting it out there and let's see how it responds. And that was the Amazon that was most recent.
I love that. That's so interesting that you send Google alerts. I have accounts that I follow in my space in the marketing, media, branding sphere, and I have notifications set on them, but I use social media as a way for me to not only see what's happening, but what is the conversation around it so that I don't show up in the same way. That's now how I've taken it, because
Okay.
it's like it's not even enough for me to know anymore because my sector is so noisy. There's a million marketers and everyone's got an opinion, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I choose to come at it from a space of I'm not only going to talk about this major announcement and this hot trend or this groundbreaking, Deloitte hires their first corporate influencer. Like, I'm not just going to talk about it because everyone's talking about it now.
Right.
Now I have to really form my opinion, and I'm going to chime in as if the conversation's already been happening.
I love that.
And I think that's an interesting way that you and I are taking the same shift we're noticing and adapting to it in different ways. That's like kind of cool. I think I'm going to try the Google notification thing.
Did you find when you decided that you were going to take ownership, have you gotten more bold in what you're saying and how you're showing up?
Yes and no. So I get more bold, but then I get nervous too. Like, it's this instant feeling of I put it out there and now I don't know if I should. And like a great example on this is you taking a different stance on how content's coming out there. I'll use the entertainment piece, how B2B is now focusing so much more in entertainment, and how you've been really educating us on follow where things are shifting. I'm now trying to figure out, what does entertainment look like for element of change? And I did this whole spin on Love is Blind and transitions.
I saw that one.
And when I say I questioned, I texted both of you that I was going to post it that day. It took me a week to post it, and it still hit. But I think to me, it's like I get scared to be that bold because I worry that no one else is doing it when I actually should embrace no one else is doing it.
I think that's, first of all, the true thought leadership, first of all. And I think that the career that you have and who you have, how you show up at this point, people are really looking to you to help them understand these topics. I mean, it's not like you're getting on and you're ranting about things that have nothing to do with your industry. Right. When you get on and you're passionate about something that you're seeing, people trust you because this is your wheelhouse.
Right.
You're not speaking on something you don't know about.
Fair. Yeah.
And they want to hear kind of like, oh, I saw it this way, but didn't see that coming. And she is the expert. So I need to kind of consider that information.
Yeah.
And I think that our audience should know also, I don't care how long you do this or how savvy you are in your space or any of those things. There's zero world, I believe, that exists where when you're still putting yourself out there. I don't even care how confident you are. It's still nerve-wracking to know how it's going to be received. And part of it is because there's a part of us, it's not that we care what people think, but we want to make sure that we're getting understood. Like, I don't have a problem if people don't like what I had to say, but I have a problem if it's misunderstood. Don't like me based on the fact that I said something clear and there's no misunderstanding. Not like me not communicating something clearly. I feel like being misunderstood is a bigger concern.
I would agree.
And I don't think that goes away. I think like I barely post something without being like, is this okay? Does this make sense? Do I have too many F-bombs?
We're all in the same boat. Yeah.
I think there's also something bigger here because you are B2B and you do work with enterprise. And, we have a lot of corporate leaders in the Daily Drip. And now we've trademarked our program and we're bringing it to companies and organizations. And I'm noticing a little bit of what you're describing, which is this sense that business is changing. The marketplace and the landscape is changing. It's no longer taboo to consider social media as part of the regular business ecosystem and a way of doing business. But yet there's still no guidance or no frame of reference on what does it look like, because there's that, like you see all those memes where it's like corporate jargon and like, like you put your corporate self on and then you have your other self.
Two identities.
And I think that's kind of like what's showing up in a lot of ways. And what we're seeing is like corporate is trying to be mainstream and mainstream is trying to be corporate or show, how do I show up in this corporate setting, but yet not lose myself and yet be authentic and yet be relevant.
Exactly.
Show up in a very authentic and relevant way. Time the cultural commentary and all of these things.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. Do you find that like you have less systems and templates, more systems and templates? Less.
Literally, like as an example, back in the day, you would have like these specific pillars. I don't have pillars anymore. It's more around in that moment, how do I create a conversation with my community? Meaning if something drops, I'm not like, hold on one second.
What pillar does that belong in?
How should I say
looking? I'm like, hey, I want to respond the way I would if I was talking to a girlfriend, or if I was talking to my husband. Like, how would I respond when this hits and I'm mad? And that part feels good, because when I do hit publish, I say to myself, well, at least that was me. That was me. And that's going to be the same me you're going to get when I'm across the table from you trying to sell an engagement package from you.
Right.
That's how you build trust. That's honestly, that's what's at like the bottom of all this.
Right.
And it's interesting. First of all, RIP content batch and pillars. RIP.
I love when things die before I do them. It's amazing.
Winning.
Skip the trend.
But I think you bring up an interesting point, because at the Daily Drip in our program, we have 4 pillars of thought leadership, but we don't view them as categories of content. We view them as like a communication style for you to bring up a culturally relevant moment. So like, do you want to talk about this topic and insert yourself in this conversation by telling an origin story? Do you want to just do a straight analysis on what you're seeing and a prediction of what you think that this means?
Yep.
Does this require some education?
Right.
Right? Like, so it's more like, how do you want to show up talking about this versus a very rigid sort of box your content needs to be stuck within?
I would agree. So the way that you even position it that way, I would say that then I'm hitting all 4 of those pillars 100%. In the way that I'm showing up in the headline. I think in the past, those other pillars were drastically different. It felt like these were the only 3 things I wanted to be known for.
Right.
And I was in a box.
Right.
What's interesting to me, given the fact that you work in more of a corporate enterprise space, I feel like it's making its play, origin story, but there's still a lot of restraint, I feel like, where corporate people or executives are kind of showing a more personal side of things. So how are you navigating that?
And sorry, let me make sure I'm understanding the question. Like, how am I navigating how I speak to them on?
Well, no, I feel like there was a moment where there was some content that went out that it may have been suggested that like it was kind of on the personal side and maybe not. And yet I'm wondering, like, how did you respond to that? Was it like, oh, maybe I need to do a little less of that, or I'm leaning in because I got the response I wanted? It's different in corporate. Like it's just different the way it's viewed.
When I first heard it, I'll be honest, I got upset because I was like, oh, like why is someone talking about it in that way as if it's a bad thing, right? Because if we look back at Steve Jobs, you look about any CEO, there's some origin story. There's something that allows you to appreciate the product, that what they're purchasing and things of that nature. So in my mind, I'm leaning more into it because at the end of the day, that's why we do what we do. That's the impact of element of change. Like, it happened to the CEO, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. I just won't make it be the front thing that we always talk about. Like, it should be there. But when I drop about Amazon laying people off, I'm not like, and by the way, I was also laid off in 2020. Like, you know what I mean? But It's more of like, that's going to be a part. Like, if I do a keynote, I'm going to tee that up so people know that I've been there. I've been in your shoes. I know how you feel. But now let's talk about what's happening in the market.
And I think that's such an important distinction, that content today is incredibly conversational. It's not structured. It feels more like
An invitation,
but more like sitting around a round table and like everyone in the comments is at that table and we're having a discussion, versus very promotional, rigid, stiff, brand guideline enforced content, right? It feels different now than it did. If you were creating content 7 or 8 years ago, this feels distinctly different.
Yep.
You know, and so let's talk about now some of these new elements, pun intended.
See what you did there.
Let's talk about some of these new elements you've added to your content plan, because you've now added a newsletter. Off the record. You've added an event series. So talk to us a little bit about the thought process. Why did you feel like these were important to add? And what do they allow you to do with your brand that just posting alone won't let you do?
One of the key things I've learned over the years from Daily Drip is that how am I building my own community, right? As much as I may not have an email list in the traditional sense of what we did in the past, what am I doing to create this container that people can come to this location, come to this center, and have resources around X, which in our case is change. So the newsletter was coming from a place of, I wanted someone to like come to my newsletter and want to read it. Like I envisioned this person drinking coffee, getting ready for the day, and like, hey, I want to make sure I read this because it only drops once a month and I know it's going to be juicy. So the newsletter was dropped from that standpoint. The other piece was, how do I now bring community together in person? Why? Because so much is changing. AI is taking over so much that we're going to swing the pendulum so far over that people are going to want connection again. And I didn't want to wait for that pendulum to swing that far over. I wanted to start doing it now. So the newsletter is called Off the Record. This dinner series is called Off the Record. So anytime I'm going to a conference, my goal is, how do I invite these individuals to dinner with me? 10 to 12 people, intimate, and off the record, let's talk about the things that are happening in corporate that we can't actually say at a table. The things that we're like, why don't we try this? And it's good insight for me from a business owner, absolutely. But I'm also creating this safe community for them to talk about it. And all I want to do is make sure people know when change is happening, we come to Element of Change to hear what other people are doing, what other people are saying, and where are they headed next.
So the people that first of all, I love the intimate thing. I think that's exactly the direction of events altogether. I think people want deep, meaningful, intentional. They don't want to walk into large rooms and trying to seek out all of that.
Yep.
Especially you.
Yep.
In terms of who you're having at these tables and in these conversations, are they other corporate HR leaders? Are they just in different positions? Like, what is it? Is it a mix so that you get really dynamic conversation?
It's for sure a mix, but on that senior leader level, because I do want decision makers in the room. So it's anywhere from COOs all the way to CHROs. And the goal is for them to, in different industries, so we can really talk about what's working and not working and the things that we want to say.
I love that it's different C-level positions, because I think it's a mistake when all departments aren't communicating to each other. Everything connects in some way. And I can't imagine a world where the CHRO shouldn't be in the loop as to whatever's happening in the COO's world and all of these different things.
Agreed.
And they're all leading teams.
Correct.
So there's still
that's the common.
There's a common thread, and now you're getting very different perspectives.
Exactly.
So everybody wins.
I love it even more from the perspective of, you're not going to be sitting with people that you work with.
Right.
So you can really say the thing that you're thinking. And at the same time, you're also not necessarily going to be sitting with people in your industry.
Yeah.
So I get my best inspiration from completely random industries. People would be shocked to see what I save in my Instagram. Like, they would be shocked. I'm following brands from like way beyond verticals, and I'm getting the inspiration.
Yeah.
And I love that you're kind of shifting your brand in a way to become a destination for peer-driven learning.
Yeah.
Where you're still there. Yep. Your services are still there. You're still educating, but now you're educating as a peer, not as I'm going to talk at you or educate you. And you're also creating space for more peers to join the conversation. I think that's powerful. Have you noticed a shift like in the feedback you're getting? And like, what are people saying since you've like rolled this out?
So the newsletter is the only thing that's fully like officially dropped. And even people are saying like, it's so good.
It was outstanding.
Thank you. They even said the way that you broke it up, it felt different than what other newsletters look like, and that they appreciated there was some depth to it. And I think it's actually the most commented newsletter that I've had to date, which shows that that's real. And then the off the record dinner series, we've sold out all the seats, and I shouldn't say sold because they didn't have to pay for it. RSVP'd, I should say, for the 9th of this month. So next Monday will be our first dinner in person session. And people are actually texting me saying they can't wait because there's some things that they already want to talk about. When they saw who was coming, they can't wait to interact with them. So I'm already creating this connection point that was deeper than what I've already imagined could happen.
You facilitated. And I think that that's really a key piece in all of this, is that, to Nicole's point, you're not talking at people, you're facilitating, you're creating a space, an opportunity for these leaders to come together, and also for them to, I hate to say the word network, but form relationships with people. Otherwise, they wouldn't get an opportunity to. And as somebody that appreciates that skill set, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think that the people sitting there appreciate that, because we're running very limited time. And whatever time we're going to dedicate, it needs to be fulfilling in some way. Like, it needs to fill my soul, or it needs to serve my business.
Agreed.
Or it's a no.
Agreed.
So amazing.
So I obviously love the newsletter, but I love it from like such a different perspective and lens. I learn from all of you guys. So I am learning, and you are my point person on what the hell is happening and how's it showing up. But I love the newsletter because I feel like for the first time, Element of Change has a personality. When I read that newsletter, it sounded like I was talking to a friend. It sounded like I was at lunch, having a lunch meeting. Yeah. It was very conversational. And when I noticed the subject matter you chose to pick, which I'd like to kind of pick your brain on how you're thinking about your newsletter topics, I immediately, the first thought that came to my head when I saw what you chose to put in the newsletter was like, fucking A, yes. Because it wasn't like what everyone else is putting out there. And I think that's also something as content creators, people who have been doing this for a little bit longer, we're also feeling this newfound competition, right? So now we're in a world where everyone's creating and everyone's got a newsletter. I have like 87 LinkedIn newsletter invitations as we speak, you know? So it's like, it's not about, do I have a newsletter? Do I not? Do I have a podcast? Do I not? Do I host an event? Do I not? It's like, yes, and you got to do it really fucking well because there's a million people vying for their subscription and vying for them to come to their event and have calendar space or listen to my podcast. So you've touched on something when you said why you chose these things and how you're kind of laying it up is like you're really positioning Element of Change to become a destination for certain things. And so I would imagine subject matter curation plays a big role into that. So how do you really think through, I want to show up on this topic in this way? Like, where are you getting like your inspo for that?
So I have to truly acknowledge this because it's real. Our strategy session was that destination point for me to realize what I had to do differently. Meaning, Romi, you just said earlier that you would hate for someone to see your content and they would not understand it. And you both asked me the question of who am I really trying to speak to? And when I realized where CEOs are landing, it's now millennials. Millennials are now stepping into the CEO roles. I'm a millennial, and there is this feeling of we've experienced so much in our time, but there's no playbook, there's no resources. So in my mind, I was looking at it from a place of what would the millennial CEO need to read that they would understand and appreciate. Hence my Love is Blind spin on transitions. Like, what are they watching? Like, what are they doing every single day that they would need to hear it in that lens to be like, that's what I needed to hear. That the way she broke it down was relatable. The way she broke it down was as if I was having coffee with her. So I flipped it on more of who am I truly speaking to? So that way I'm not trying to speak to the masses. I'm hopefully
you are landing the plane, girl.
Wowza.
And it feels good because now I feel like I'm actually writing content even for me.
I could probably quote back your newsletter launch because that's how much it struck me. And now I'm understanding why, because I too am a millennial. But I remember you launched the newsletter and you're like, we're going through our third reorg in a year. Now you want me to adopt AI. I've already lived through a market crash and a real estate crash and 9/11 and all these things. But yeah, sure. Why don't we add a fourth reorg? And I was like, oh my God, the tone, the positioning, the way you just brought it up and was like, here's the real problem. It's not really change.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's all the change all the time with no guidance, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the leadership that our generation's like coming into. And so that's the stuff I think you hit on that I remember it to the point where I could.
You just quoted it.
Yeah.
Multiple lines.
It was really powerful.
Thanks for reading my article.
Yeah, thank you.
It was really powerful. So how do you pick what's going to go in the newsletter?
So if I were to say there's structure behind any of the social media, it's going to be structure in the newsletter. So I wanted to be really intentional with my team around, I want people to know where we're going, meaning what conference do we say is the conference that's giving us the information that's helping us provide education back to our community, to what are we thinking about what's happening in the world. Like, I want them to hear my thought leadership on what's happening in the world, to, hey, here's the next off the record dinner table and here's who's coming. And the goal is the newsletter, that structure piece will stay, but it may pivot on what goes first depending on what's happening. But you're always going to get a little slice of what are my thoughts? Where am I headed? When's the next off the record table? Like, I want that to be consistent. Just the content itself will shift depending on what's happening in March.
I love that. I think that's so smart. Are you doing anything else around the conferences that you're attending? Like, how are you maximizing that beyond the newsletter and the dinner series?
When we talk about so much change happening all the time, most leaders want to go to a conference and they can't because of schedules, or they go to a conference and there's so many competing breakout rooms that they're like, man, I really wish I was there. So our goal right now is that we're going to always, we host virtual forums right now, but now we're going to be a little bit more intentional where it's a post recap of that conference.
Oh, I love that.
So we're taking all the notes,
all the nuggets.
And we're going to condense it. Why? Because people don't have time to listen to an 8-hour recap. Right. It's a 60-minute recap, but then you get a playbook of here's basically the appendix. Like, if you want to go deeper, we're going to give it to you. So that's our also like almost a lead magnet, if you will. Like you're opting into this virtual forum, but we're now giving you the conference.
And so you have your whole, like how many of you is, like I'm trying to imagine, you talk about multiple breakout rooms. So it's sort of a divide and conquer.
It will always be a team of 3, the way that we figured it out, that we can always hit at least those rooms.
And you probably pre-plan like which rooms we're going to tackle and why.
And it's going to be geared towards change, right? So we're going to make sure that.
So not only has she eliminated your homework, she's doing what little's left for you.
Yeah,
I love that.
Helping you out.
Lisa's doing everyone's homework for them. No, I love that. So talk to us about how you look at your brand today now. You're heading into this year with a kind of fresh new perspective on what content should look like, how it should be approached. You've got some new verticals that you've added. You mentioned before that you were looking for inbound leads and you had a marketing team that was helping you and it just kind of wasn't translating in the way you hoped. How do you measure success today? How are you looking at your newsletter and these events? And what are you looking for to be able to say, nailed it?
It's so funny that you say it that way because it's all about inbound. The last 3 years, I have focused solely on outbound, and it's as much as it's helped grow our business, it's also exhausting, and it doesn't feel as rewarding that no one is coming to me. And I truly believe when I have more people asking to be at the dinner series, when I have people asking about how they can work with us from that inbound perspective, then I know our strategy's working. Our strategy's working because they know what element of change really stands for versus this bucket of transition, because transition can be so vague. So I'm defining our brand changing into inbound. So we're going to measure that by followers. We're measuring that by calls and things of that nature. And I'm excited to see what's ahead.
I love it because I feel like I'm in a very similar place at this point where like for years I'm not going to use the vulgarities around it, but like I missed 0 things. Like I was literally at everything. I was an event.
Me too.
Beep. And I think it really is. First of all, I think a lot of it has to do with how we show up online, digitally. That's a big piece, even though I was doing all of that in person. But to see the shift from now, like I don't have to go out as much. I get to be far more intentional about what I go to because people are coming to me. They're sliding into my DMs with like, I really want to learn more about what you're doing and what you're involved in. And I saw this, or I loved what you wrote, or whatever it is.
Yep.
But I think it's a major victory for any entrepreneur or business owner or whatever when that shift happens. Because to your point, it's exhausting, but there's something to be, it's like you've arrived.
Yeah.
Like people like now, like you're not telling people what you do. You're not having to explain or justify your, like all of a sudden people are like, they know. And they want in.
It is that twofold factor. It's like, not only do I know you exist, not only do I completely understand what you do, not only do I totally agree with you, but now I'm going to knock on the door and it's not to get to know you. Like the discovery call's dead.
Yeah.
It's because how do I get onto your round table? Like, how do I get into your forum? Like, can we sit down and talk because I'm dealing with this? Like, explain your packages and your services. It's like these people, you not only do you get inbound leads, but they're so filtered and they're so qualified because you've created like this center of gravity with all these touch points that's educating them, reinforcing your mission, reinforcing your why, that by the time they come to you, they're just like ready to rock.
That's the game.
I love that. And I Romi's right. Like I so resonate with this because I feel like that's been our 5-year journey to where we are. There was a time where we used to have to explain to people what we do. And now it's like people are like, is enrollment open yet for membership? Like when does it enroll? When does it open? And you know, people are introducing us to people perfectly. Like we don't even have to explain what we do. They're
I used
just
to
like,
be the bouncer.
when can I? Yeah, you were
Don't
the
you
bouncer.
remember when you first explained to me what? Like I even remember. Although I will say, because your skill set is communication.
Yeah.
You were always very good at being able to communicate what you did. But it is pretty cool when all of a sudden you hear someone else spit out what you do with such clarity. And you're like, oh my God, like that. They seem so insignificant when you talk about it in this way, but they're monumental shifts.
Yeah.
Because people talking about you in the right way is a fucking game changer.
You made it.
It's a good feeling for you too.
What?
Right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So as we wrap up this episode, we're asking everybody this question.
Ooh.
So as you look ahead now to the future of Lisa Rigoli, Element of Change, the trajectory you're on, all these new verticals you're adding in, what's your goal for your personal brand? What are you in pursuit of?
Ooh, I'm in pursuit that when change does happen, people are actually coming to my page on LinkedIn to be like, I'm curious what Lisa's take on it, because chances are she's already talking about what just hit the headline.
I love that. What a good goal.
That's amazing.
I think that's my goal too.
Yeah.
I think you and I are so similar. I think that's my goal. My goal is that when people are like stuck with their marketing or why isn't this working or I just heard this or I'm noticing this trend, let me go to Nicole and see what does she think about this? Like, what is she saying?
Yeah.
That's such a good, solid brand builder's goal.
Thank you.
Because I think from that, everything else is born.
Everything else
If
falls
you're
into
doing
place.
that right, everything else will happen.
Agreed.
All right. So what advice would you give to anyone who's listening right now or following the Daily Drip that might fall into your skill set level, like maybe an advanced creator? Okay.
Okay.
Or a creator for the last couple years who's maybe noticing it ain't working the same anymore. What's the audit that she should do? Or how should she start tackling this?
To me, I always believe that you should always either have a coach or a mentor that's helping you, because when you're in it, it's really hard to see the ingredients inside the jar. Like you can't see the label from inside. So I share that analogy because I mean it, and it's not just to promote it for the sake of promoting it, like it's real. It wasn't until our strategy session that everything started to unpack. So in my mind, you guys were my coach and mentor for me to think, really be more intentional of how do I want to step into 2026. So if it's not the Daily Drip, how do you have a coach? How do you have a mentor? Who's helping you make sense of what's in your head? Because again, I didn't even realize how outdated transition and just talking about transition was sounding until I sat down with the two of you and you're like, wait a minute, who are you talking to? And why aren't you just saying the thing? And I'm like, I don't know. Why am I not saying the thing? Like, so
because it's not part of my 90-day plan.
Yeah, I'm like, but in March, I wanted to write. It was December. And
for me, this is so good because I am like I want to just say it. And I love the fact that we're away with certain structures and things because I feel like it's time for people like me that aren't organized in that way. Like it was like COVID.
Yeah.
Like COVID did away with fancy dress clothes and shit. I was like, now
let's
people
go.
look like me. I loved it.
Yeah.
Bring on sweatpants.
Whatever stage you're at, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, ask for help. And if not, join the Daily Drip.
Thanks. I'll slip you your 20 later. No, I thank you. I really appreciate your testimonial. I think whenever people think about the Daily Drip and what we do here, everyone thinks of it in the context of a beginner. And I think they would be shocked to see how many very advanced, very seasoned content creators come here for totally different reasons.
Yep.
Really to stay on the edge, on the forefront, maybe rethink things, maybe get a little clarity because we evolve. So the identity evolves, the brand evolves.
Yep.
And in a lot of ways, this is very cyclical. So like your feedback on how we've been able to help and support you really means a lot and means the most. And I want to just thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And I want to tell all of you guys, the world's changing and nobody knows what the hell is going on. So you better be following Lisa Rigoli because she's going to let you know what's happening with AI change, what direction corporate's heading in, all the things. She's my go-to. I stay in the loop on everything with Lisa. And so you can connect with her on LinkedIn, on Instagram. You can also head to thedailydrip.com and go to Lisa's profile page where you can read, watch, or listen to anything that she's created with us. She's got some bangers on there. And I want to thank you all for being here and tuning in, and we will see you all on another episode of Her Pursuit.